ฝากกดติดตามและกดไลค์กดแชร์ CBN Thailand
Global markets are unsettled over Israel's war with Hamas. Stocks are mixed and the price of oil is up. What might we expect in the days ahead? Higher prices at the pump? Supply chain shortages? Or is the world getting used to these types of disruptions? Well, joining us from Dallas is Brandon Pizzurro. He's incoming president of Guidestone Funds, America's largest faith-based mutual fund company. Okay, Brandon, so oil prices are climbing. Early this week, they were up about $4 a barrel. It looks like the war is likely to go on for quite some time. So what is the likely impact of this war on consumers?
Yeah, great question. First and foremost, it goes without saying, but it's worth reiterating. Just our hearts go out to the people of Israel. The tremendous human loss and tragedy that's going on there is going to take them quite some time to be able to begin to pick up the pieces. So I want to start there first and foremost. But certainly turning to markets, we've had oil prices climb, as you mentioned. One of the biggest things here when you have one of these, tremendous, shock events, as you might call them, is people need to initially first digest that. And that first playthrough or that bleed through is initially going to be into the oil prices. And that's where people are initially going to feel that pain. As you mentioned earlier, that pain at the pump is very tacit and one of those first things that people think about when they say, is my cost of living going up? And pain at the pump is certainly something we're going to have to grapple with for a little bit of time here.
Well, why is the price of oil climbing? I mean, there have been no attacks on oil depots or oil ships, no choke point in the Persian Gulf and the Strait of Hormuz. Is this based on fear of a broader war with Iran or what? What's going on?
Certainly. Yeah, fear is something that permeates markets anytime you have these kind of left tail events, as we might call them, just unexpected events. And so when you have that unknown and that uncertainty, one of the things that people are first going to start to grapple with is like, okay, given the region, what's going to be the knock-on effects from there? And given that that's a big oil-heavy region, people are certainly going to run for fear, and that's going to start to bid up those prices. But outside of that, you're really going to need to see what supply shocks there might be, where demand is. We've already had a lot of really interesting things take place in oil markets just because of supply and demand over the last year or so. And this is just one more thing that certainly complicates that calculus.
Okay, Brandon, what about the supply chain? We've experienced wheat shortages as a result of the war in Ukraine. How do you expect this war may affect global markets and the transportation of food and other products?
Sure. Well, anytime you have any war, depending on the scale, you're certainly going to have a lot of people that their first reaction is going to be to worry about that supply chain. If things aren't just going well, so to speak, from a geopolitical standpoint, that can certainly create just a whole host of unknown unknowns. And what markets like more than anything is certainty. Even if it's negative news or a bad outcome, that uncertainty that's pervasive is what's really going to cause that angst. And because of that, we have yet to see what knock-on effects we might have. So seeing if there's additional attacks, if there's any other kind of state players that want to intervene in various ways or make any type of rash decisions when it comes to those type of supply chains, that's something you have to keep a close eye on.
And if Iran got involved in this in a hot war, that would be devastating, would it not?
Absolutely. I mean, anytime you start to have players that have been in adversarial standpoint between the two of them for such a long period of time, if that boiled over, that certainly has much, much broader implications for allies to Israel and certainly for just that entire region, which has been in turmoil since the beginning of time almost, unfortunately.
And the United States has already sent a naval carrier group to the region, and the Pentagon says it's going to provide munitions for Israel. The Israeli Defense Forces have requested interceptors, precision-guided munitions. So is it a good time to invest in defense industry stocks? I understand they're up.
Yeah, defense stocks are certainly up. So initially, anytime you have any outbreak of attack or any type of unrest like this, you do see those defense contractors start to get bid up. I saw a report earlier today that one of the major defense contractors already sent 1,000 bombs of a certain type over there to help support this effort. So you're certainly going to see some uptick in some of those defense contractors' names. Wars in general are inflationary, which really starts to kind of go against this disinflationary environment that the Fed and other global central banks are looking for. So you see that inflation rise because the cost of production. Oil certainly is an inflationary measure. So from a defense contractor standpoint, you're going to see people look to them to see, just what type of demand there is for their services and goods.
Brandon, tell us about Guidestone. How does it differ from other mutual fund companies?
Sure. Happy to. We are the nation's largest faith-based fund family. We stand for the various tenets of what a conservative Christian investor would like to have. We do that through multiple outlets. We have not only our faith-based screening, which is essentially what we're standing against, but also advocacy and impact efforts in terms of what we're standing for. Our dollars are our way of expressing our views and where we want people to see the world through our Christian worldview. And so by having the investments that we do choose to have, we can have that material positive impact by seeking to have change and at the same time seeking to have a rate of return for our investors that we believe is not having to have a Christian discount, so to speak, that you can have your faith and you can have your return that you need for your investment objectives as well.
And there's a lot of anxiety over this war worldwide, especially here in the United States, but many Christians believe this is biblical prophecy being fulfilled. So how should we respond with our finances and prayer?
Respond with prayer, first and foremost. Any time of distress like this, the only way to turn is to God and to think about what is at play. You know, God, of course, knows exactly what's at play, and it's for us to rely on Him and put our faith in the Lord, especially in these troubled times, which there seems to be more and more of these troubled times as we get further into man's history. But the other thing we can do too is not be fearful. You know, the Lord also calls us to be bold and brave in our faith and standing pat with those who we ally ourselves with. So praying for Israel, praying for the people, praying for a peaceful resolution is certainly what we need to do, but not being fearful. At the same time, we are certainly here on earth as humans for this short period of time, and we want to make sure that we are doing what we can to continue to prepare ourselves, keep our focus on the long term for those investment goals and objectives we're seeking to have.
And be good stewards, right?
Yes, sir.
Okay, Brandon Pizzurro, thank you for providing us with your insights. We appreciate it. God bless you.
All right, you too. Thank you.